For ages, I've thought myself that the Overton window has shifted, and I think most people could probably agree with me there. And it's not shifted for the better. Basically, if you were a Conservative, you're now far right. And it's also said, because this is about the now furious Suella Braverman allies way up, I should say, taking nuclear option against Rishi Sunak. And it does make you wonder what that is. However, I did wonder just how badly the Everton window had changed, because how many actually right-wingers are there in the Conservative Party? Because my guessing is there's not that much. Anyway, so I read this, and it turns out that I'm not actually too far off the money. Incidentally, there are people to the left that are saying because of Tommy Robinson and his supporters and the far right, that's the reason Suella Braverman got booted. No, it's not. Not at all. Because the video footage shows that the boys went silent for the 2 minutes and Tommy came in, paid his respects, and then left. He didn't hang about. And most of us came down, guarded the memorial while the 2 minute silence went on, and after everything went its own way, we went our own way. And there were a few people that stayed around late, and when they did, got led into a trap by the police, and then it kicked off. Okay? And then, then the media get their pictures. But not just that, when they tried to kettle them from actually coming into Whitehall, they pushed through. They got that, and they've made that out to be a big deal. It wasn't. Nobody ended up getting them a punch-up. Sorry, I know the police are trying to fit us up, but nah, didn't happen. So anyway, it says here, allies of the former Home Secretary, Suella Braverman, are set to meet. Basically, I'll get through this quick. They're going to meet. There's a common sense group who want to come together in a informal meeting to discuss what is to be done. Because in the Prime Minister's reshuffle, it seemed that prior to that, Suella Braverman was the only right-leaning politician with a position in the cabinet, right? But they're Conservatives, aren't they? Surely that means that they're right-wing. I mean, that is what they were set up as, right? But apparently not. What's it say? It goes on, it's going to meet. Currently, opinions are divided on how to proceed, with senior members of the group told the Express the only option is the nuclear option. Well, that sounds pretty extreme. The MP said some colleagues will be understandably nervous about having yet another leadership contest, but it is clear now that the choice is to change leader and Prime Minister or face electoral annihilation, which is true. The MP said that the initial part of the major reshuffle had created a feeling of complete despair. The reasons they feel complete despair is there's nobody with any minerals in there. Certainly nobody that represents the people. I think the argument, as I read in here, is that Suella Braverman, Honor Jack Jones, has managed to keep the Conservatives, the party faithful, actually interested in the Conservative Party, because there's one little glimmer of hope that a woman or a person was actually trying to do something, or failing miserably, as it happened to be. But there's a reason for this. Other MPs who were great pointed out that Sunak has appointed a new Home Secretary, James Cleverly, who is opposed to leaving the European Convention of Human Rights to allow the UK to control its borders. So basically, if he keeps you in that, that's it. We take these people, we have no say, and it's tough shit, which is exactly what globalism wants. And these people have probably been lobbied, bribed, paid off, or whatever you want to call it, to make sure that they're not actually Conservative and they don't serve the Conservatives. Or anybody else for that matter. Just themselves. There's the thing. So they're also angry over the appointment of David Cameron as Foreign Secretary. One MP noted that the man who fought tooth and nail to stop us leaving the European Union in the referendum, now he is a Foreign Secretary. I was just speaking to Callow, if you're watching this, hello. He was saying, isn't it amazing that when we were given the option to either leave or not leave, that was how it was. But when we actually voted to leave, then there had to be deals and there had to be things and things had to be negotiated. And basically they had to drag it out as long as they could to make sure that we didn't actually leave. And we haven't even got Brexit now, not really. And what we've done is made such an absolute pig's ear of it. Pig's a good thing to mention around him, isn't it? But yeah, such a pig's ear about it that basically it gives the left all the ammunition to say that we're worse off now because of it, although you're not actually worse off, but there's many reasons. But trying to talk to them would be like trying to talk to that plasterboard wall and getting a decent conversation out of it. Although, I'm going to hedge my bets that someone on the extreme left would give me a worse conversation than that wall. But that's another thing. Anyway, so moving on. So we have Cameron, who is a Europhile, come back, and the mood is clear that the direction of the government is now one which will only give an electoral defeat. Why am I struggling to speak? The number of MPs needed to trigger a leadership vote is currently 53. 15% of the number in the Commons. The Common Sense Group, New Conservatives, are understood to have up to 60 MPs between them. And if they all agree to send letters to the 1922 committee chair, basically I think things can happen. If they fail to muster the number, they said represents a big enough group to hold the government hostage. According to one source, allies to Mr. Sunak believe that only 12 MPs would back Mrs. Braverman if she was sacked. Well, she's gone, and how many are going to back her? However, already there are concerns in a WhatsApp group that the Prime Minister has bowed to left-wing pressure, and Mrs. Braverman was right. Yeah, okay with that. One MP said Sunak has committed political suicide, but it goes on, and it basically says that she was the last right-wing politician. What else does it say here? There you go. It says a third Tory said, "I'm furious. He, Sunak, is no politician. He doesn't understand the Tory faithful are pretty much only faithful because of Suella. Mrs. Braverman was the only recognised member of the right of the party in the cabinet before her departure." What does that say? People voted for Conservative because they're right-leaning. Centrist, centre-right, right-wing, generally speaking. I mean, if you're further right-wing than that, then you'd go for a more modern-day traditional party that actually are going to stand up for your views, allegedly, in theory. Depends on which one. Heritage Party. Go with them. But that's what I'm doing anyway. So there you go. So what do? They're going to get absolutely smashed at the next election. You've brought back... I mean, the left hate Mr. Pig, right? And to be honest, left don't actually like Conservatives anyway. But if you've lost the Conservatives because you don't actually have any Conservatives in there, then you don't stand a chance. So we will get Labour. And then when we get Labour, we're screwed. Really screwed. I mean, just think of everything happening a lot quicker. The worst happening. Because they've got to speed this up as fast as they can. Don't forget, I shouldn't even say the left. I should say about the communists. The Marxists, the communists, the socialists, because they're different variations in there. I mean, in Labour Party, you've got commies, you've got socialists, you've got... What else you got there? You've got... what other ones were there in there? Varying types of idiot. Anyway, it'll come to me. But either way, you've got true Labour for the working man, and there's probably one person that stands for that. But anyway, the rest of them... yeah. But what they want to do is destruction. They've got to destroy everything that was before them because they hate it. It stands for everything that they stand against. The bourgeoisie and all that kind of stuff, right? So they have to destroy it, and they'll do so with glee. And when they're doing it, they'll look at you and they'll love to see your reactions. And the more upset you are, the more they'll feed off it because they're cunts. So that's what we're going to get. And as it goes down the shitter, there will be, at some point, by the way, it'll twig. They'll realise that they've been used. That many of the supporters of Labour were useful idiots, and now they're going to suffer what it is that they've helped put in place. And they'll look to people like us to fix it. At which time I should imagine social order's starting to break down. Community is failing, like it is at the moment. Law and order will fail even more. And at which point, as law and order fails, and the army can't do the job, and all sorts of other things start to break down, because the country breaks down, that's when nutter groups will come out the woodwork and they won't be able to be policed. Nutter groups on the left, nutter groups from other ideologies, nutter groups on the right, the whole lot. And we'll start heading towards... Northern Ireland back in the days. You think I'm talking shit? I've not been wrong about stuff like this so far. I predicted how things were going to go. They've gone that way. Why? It's not because I'm bright. I just look to history. History is repeated over and over and over again. And if you do your history, okay, you'll see what happens. And this is where we're going. Nobody wants it. Well, I say nobody wants it. Nobody normal would want this. Nobody with any common sense at all. Why would you? I love my country. I don't want to see it go down a shitter. I don't want to see people who hate this country get their way and destroy it. I mean, why? But it seems that they will do the work of other organisations and entities that want that happen so the next thing can be put into place. Now, if I'd have talked like this 10 years ago, you'd have just said I was David Icke. But some of you are now thinking, you ain't wrong. Kind of wish David Icke was wrong, because we wouldn't be in this shit. But there's a lot, I mean, obviously, the reptilian stuff and all that lot. I'm struggling a bit. However, so much he did say, it did come true. And we used to mock the shit out of him. It's an embarrassment, isn't it? But we weren't open-minded enough, or maybe what he was saying seemed too unfathomable that we couldn't cope with it and just mocked him as a nutter. And now? What else is he talking about? And we'll probably go, well, that's got to be bullshit because that's the way we're programmed. But is it? I don't know. I haven't listened to the guy for a while. But fucking A. It's embarrassing, isn't it? Every time I think about the forefathers that went before us, what they made of this land, their hard work and their toil, and now we're ruining it. I feel ashamed. Anyway, until the next, I'll see you in a bit.